Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of 10 Minute Tuesday. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Today, I got my guy Rocky on here. He used to give me trouble on the court. A hooper, man. Solid hooper. Rocky, what's going on, bro?
Hey, how's it going, brother? Doing
Good,
all right.
good, good, man. Thanks so much for joining, man. All right, so we've done a number of these, man. So Rocky, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Rocky Gray. I lead treasury engineering at Cash App, based in the Washington, D.C. area, work remote, originally from Southside Chicago, but now living in the D.C. area with my wife and kids.
Awesome, awesome. So Chicago, Vanderbilt, now in DC. So done a number of things, but you talk about your engineer now. So what really compelled you to get into that role, and what compelled you to get into the data element?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it started in undergrad. I did computer engineering in school, and I fell in love with the idea of like building systems and creating something out of nothing by writing software, and that helped me like get on this like journey that I've been on. I've been very fortunate to be able to work on almost every single layer of the stack. Did back end, front end, data engineering, like DevOps and infrastructure, built API platforms. And throughout this journey, it's just been a great opportunity to learn. And I think for me on the data side, data is ubiquitous. It's everywhere, and it's one of those things that helps give you insight into what's going on, not only in your product or the way your customers are behaving, but it can also give you insights into what's happening around in the world at the same time. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome, man. So I didn't know you were full stack, so I learned something new within itself. So yeah, I mean, you always been brilliant. So just understanding the full stack and where you're at, that's amazing. But thinking about where your journey's been, I'm sure there's been some jobs, and doesn't have to necessarily be IT or tech related. But what's been your least favorite job that you had to date, and why did you not like it?
Yeah. I think for my least favorite job, when I started off my career, I was an ETL developer. So extract, transform, and load, building. Probably call it like data engineer now, and that was my least favorite role because I really didn't have an understanding of how impactful data was. And at that point in my career, I was really trying to like learn as much as I can. I really wanted to like build systems and write code. And like in that role, I wasn't really happy with what I was doing. I was building pipes to get data from one place to another, do a little bit of logic, sprinkle it in there, and I think you know I was thinking about it, as like I was a plumber, like laying pipe day in day out. But if I take a step back and like think about it, like plumbers have an amazing. You always think about like the dirty stuff, right? The things that you never want to touch. But having that ability to like control the flow of water is super powerful and impactful. And this past like year or so, I've been dealing with like some drainage issues around my home, and did a lot of like learning of like how to build a proper like drainage system that will like make sure we're getting water and clearing it out. And it's incredibly complex and incredibly like sophisticated if you want to design the right way. And like it's the same thing with data engineering.
Uh,
Yeah, you are going to be laying pipes, you're going to be connecting things together, doing some glue, but what you're really doing is like getting all of that information, uh, and putting it into a form where you can help analysts build insights into like behaviors of our customers, and the like predicting the future of the business at the same time, which is like incredible to me. So yeah, I think on that front, that's probably where my love for data, like that was my least favorite role, but it also helped me inspire like my future love for data.
Wow, that's like you said a lot of things that are really awesome. So I've always heard the analogy of data engineers, plumbers, right? We get it from start to end, from start to destination, and there are intricacies around it. But what you just highlighted to me, which really makes sense, is the flow, the power of the concurrency, whatever the term you want to use, right?
Yeah.
But there's a controlling piece of that to where you can slow down a business or you can speed up a business and
Yep.
really I never thought about the power from that element since you said it. So that was a really great take on that one. So thinking about that, understanding the lesson. So that was one of your favorite roles, but every single role you had, right? There's probably been something where it's been called a failure with quotation mark around failure. So what do you think is your biggest failure that you had, and what did you really learn from that experience?
Yeah, yeah. I think early on in my career, um, one of the like biggest failures I've had was kind of like a lack of uh, like ability to influence and to like convince folks to do things in a way that I thought should have been done. And this was like this one example was when I worked at a startup in the DC area. It's a stock media company. Knew nothing about stock media before. It's like all like the stock photos, stock images, all of those things. So we had like the Netflix of stock media. You get a subscription and you can get unlimited access to any like video or images that we had on our site. So um, early on we were trying to get our application and migrate over to the cloud. This is in 2013, 2014. And at the same time we're also introducing Docker into our stack. So like we were like one of the first companies that had Docker running in production. And in order for us to like get our application in a shape that would allow us to host it in Docker in the cloud, we had to do some like major refactors and reshaping of the application to ensure that those environment variables that we needed to kind of like inject into the application would be able to consume and like up and running. So I had an idea of like how I can do this refactor, how I can reshape the application, and it worked really well in my head. The problem was I didn't know how to communicate that out to others and have them like see my vision of what the application was going to look like. And through that experience, my my boss was really worried. It was a day before we were actually going to like we were supposed to actually like shift the application. He's like, "Is this thing going to work?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna work. Yeah, it's gonna work."
Yeah.
And like luckily everything did work, like worked to perfection. But that was like my first like clue, like that I need to get better at communicating. I need to get better at designing. I need to get better at like getting the stuff out of my head and putting it on paper to allow others to like buy in and build consensus to that approach. And like that now that is kind of like one of my strengths in the sense that I did a deep dive on like learning how to do like architecture designing and like how to like build effective architecture diagrams, things like that. And I use that like I've used that at many points throughout my career, and like can still continue to use it today.
Wow, that's really incredible, and it's really awesome that you took that thing of like the initial growing pains, if you call it that, of this is working, this is great, I know it's going to work because we're engineers, right? We're really smart, we're logical, we already thought it in our head like 40 times before we express it. But then, how do you get the buy-in of others who aren't living in our brain? How do you get to
Yep.
communicate that out? So I guess a follow-up question to that is, what are some techniques or what tools did you or do you leverage to really get that out? And what kind of soft skills do you use as well to get people to buy into your idea of your way of doing things?
Yeah, yeah. I think like one of the best resources I found was this book called "Documenting Software Architectures," and in that book, it really uh, tries to get you into a framework of building these views that represent your system at like various levels of detail. And like with those different types of views, you think about who your stakeholders are and who you need to like potentially convince or relay that information to. So if you are um, uh, presenting a design to like folks on the business side and marketing or something like that, you'll likely want to have something like really high level, not a lot of detail, not a lot of like granularity. But if you are like trying to convince a group of tech leads, you want to have a a more more like detailed view of your system and all of the like interaction and integration points, right? That book kind of like describes like how you can put together a document that will allow you to like influence or build consensus with different groups of people. But at the same time, there's a a design visual design aid framework called the C4 model for like visualizing software, and that also takes the same approach. It gives you like four different diagrams that you can build for any system, and it goes from like high level all the way down to low level. And if you use that framework, that usually helps you get to a good point where you have a few different views that will help you in various scenarios as you're trying to build consensus within an organization.
Awesome. I love that. So I am going to leverage the C4 framework just because first I'm hearing it, and I'm going to hit you up like later and be like, hey, Rocky, man, this is so dope. Appreciate you putting me on game with with that framework. So
For
that's
sure.
incredible. All right. So thinking about this, right, I consider you a leader in this space. But there are a lot of people who tune into this podcast who are just starting out. So what's one piece of advice you give someone who's just starting out in their career?
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest piece of advice I can give anybody is to stay curious and use data to kind of like back your curiosity and kind of help you like drive down a path of like finding new insights, finding new information. And when I was at Capital One, I was leading a team, and while I was there, I was like, my phrase was like, you got to stay curious, like query your data, like see if there's anything that looks interesting or abnormal, and like those are usually ways to like find things that could be interesting, or like if you need to make optimizations in the application, or if you find this like behavior that is abnormal from like your customers or something like that. Those are insights that you can use to help like build up a prioritization for like the types of work that you want to do. So like staying curious using data is something that I would advise anybody to do.
Love that. Great answer. Great answer. All right. Last question. Tell me about the most influential people in your life and how they made an impact on you.
Sure, sure. Um, yeah, I think one of the most influential people in my life, like his name's well, one of my previous managers, Justin Bacherick. He is one of the most empathetic leaders that kind of helped form the way that I lead today, and making like I think creating a safe place where everybody feels included, while also having the mentality of you got to get shit done too, and you got to make sure that we're all like going along like a some path somewhere. We have a vision that we're all aligned with and want to work toward. So like he was one of those impactful folks from like the leadership side. And then on the technical side was another previous manager of mine. He was um, David Harmony, he is like one of the like most influential people I've had on like the techno side and being able to dive really deep into an area. This is like one of the guys that like he can like tunnel through like a firewall using like pure C, and he knows everything, like all the libraries like off the top of the head. And he hadn't even done it for like 10 years. And he just like built up this tool that just tunneled through Capital One's firewall. Don't get me in trouble, Dave. But yeah, I mean, those he was like one of those folks that like really like showed that, you know, if you have a deep expertise in something, you can build a career and shape it in a way that you want. You know, that's truly inspiring to me.
Awesome, awesome. Wow. It's like I know we're coders and everything, and shout out to the empathetic leaders, the ones who like you got to get it done, but also understand what's going on, and then marveling at people who can just, you know, at any moment like pull out their skill set out their bag of just like, oh my god, like how do you keep all that in your brain? Like those people are
Seriously, yeah.
wizards, man. They're absolute wizards. Awesome. All right, Rocky, where can listeners find you at online?
You can find me on Twitter. I used to work for Twitter. I can't call it X, but you can find me on Twitter, Rocky G Jr. You can find me on almost everywhere else, LinkedIn, GitHub, like whatever at Grocky, so G Rocky. And yeah, anytime, just reach out if you have any questions. I know the industry is kind of going through like a churn right now. Unfortunately, we're not actively hiring at Cash App right now, but if roles do open up and you're interested, feel free to reach out. I'm always interested in like connecting with folks and helping them along with their careers too.
All right, appreciate it, Grocky. I didn't know that was your username, so I'm gonna start calling you that going forward instead of Rocky. I'm gonna call you Grocky, Mo. But appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for taking time out today. This was fascinating. Not fascinating, but amazing, great, everything, all the above. So thank you, bro.
Appreciate it. All right, thanks,
Awesome.
Sekou.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to y'all next week. Have a great day.